morning and welcome back to the second episode of the Navy Knitter, where I talk about my Navy life, my knitting and all my other creative endeavors. So here's a little life update as to the last episode that I got braces yesterday. And now I realize that I'm speaking in a kind of funny way and my entire mouth aches and all my teeth feel like if they were loose. So bear with me and I hope you can still understand me of what I'm telling. It wasn't really necessary for me to get braces, but we can get quite a large refund through work, through insurance. So I thought, well, why not? Let's beautify myself a little. And my daughter is getting braces too. She's now 10 and for her it's really necessary because her bottom teeth, when she bites, like stick into the upper part of her mouth, and she has like these little wounds from time to time. So I thought, why not, and make it a little less scary for her by also getting braces now. So maybe you will hear me talk a little differently, but that's because basically I have to get readjusted to my braces. And all of a sudden I feel 13 again, so it's really weird. Well, this episode today, I wanted to talk about my summer knits and recent knits I've done. I must say, since last time, I haven't even uploaded my first episode yet. That's just about to download inside. And I discovered so much more that comes around recording a podcast via this way. So I dived into YouTube and had to make a banner and a logo and all those scary things that suddenly jump upon you that you have to do to make a podcast. But it's so much fun to discover. And while the first episode is uploading actually right now, I thought, the weather is nice. Let's get outside and show you all my summer knits before I have to wait another year to get them back out. But first of all, what I'm wearing my Tolsta tee by Rebecca Clow, the CRA Tee. And I really like this one a lot. I've gotten quite somewhere out of by now. And I made it in drops Belle in a color I don't really remember. Some rose, old rose something. I will note it below. And yeah, I really like it. I made this on holiday actually. And I watched the CRA Tee podcast. And in one of those she mentioned that she made one with a smaller neckline. So I took a neckline from, I think was 8 stitches smaller than the actual size I needed. And then I did the ribbing, and the first row after the ribbing, I increased the 8 stitches and then made the other size again. So that this is a little, sleeker. And I really, really like it. And I absolutely am convinced that this will not be my last Tolsta tee because it really wears really nicely. Then, one not so selfish knit, as this is the one I made for my daughter. This is the Rosa Tee Little by Along Avec Anna, and I made it in a yarn. It's a Viking Garn Bambino, and I was horrendously influenced by the lovely knitting traditions. Inge, she talks about it in a podcast that she discovered this yarn for her Cumulus Tee, I think, and that it was really soft. And so I discovered a web shop that delivers to the Netherlands, and I bought this Viking Garn in the favorite color of my daughter. And I must say, it is so incredibly soft. She wears it all the time. I can hardly get it off her. She loves it. She has worn it all summer long, and because of the quality of the yarn and the softness, I also bought myself a large stash of Viking Garn Bambino. So maybe, or maybe not, I will make myself some other Cumulus tees or even Tolstas in this yarn quality. And then what else? Here's one that needs a little introduction. This is the CeCile top by Paula M. Strickt. It's a German designer, but has a really nice, lost for words. She has really nice patterns also in English. And this I made in, difficult one. It's a yarn by a Mandarin by Sandnes Garn. And the funny story is, last year we went to Stavanger with our ship, and since Sandnes is just around the corner from Stavanger, I of course had the dying wish to visit the Sandnes Garn factory and factory outlet. And so we did, but I went with 3 of my colleagues. We went by car, and we had planned to do a hike around Sandnes afterwards. And I must say, my 3 male colleagues were not at all into knitting, of course. So they tolerated me going to the store for half an hour. And I was really pressed for time. So I looked around, and it was really beautiful. And I went to the outlet section where they have like yarn with little flaws, or sometimes the etiquettes are just not right, the ball bands or something. And I had a huge stash of navy blue pear gynt because I wanted to make a sweater for me. I thought I had enough blue yarn, and because I was pressed for time, I just packed it in and just counted. I think it took 16 or 17 balls, and it was at a very reduced price, so I wasn't actually looking at price tags, I must admit. But somewhere in the same like big box, there was also Mandarin Petit, or Mandarin yarn, in the same color. So somehow I must have gotten mixed up in all the stress piling up the yarn, that instead of the pear gynt, I threw in another quality. So when I wanted to start the sweater, I discovered that I had, I think, 6 or 7 wrong quality yarn balls. And so I had to order some more to finish my sweater, the zipper sweater, in the pear gynt quality. And now I had like 6 balls on hand of, I think it was Mandarin Petit, in the same color. And so I decided to make something of my knitting wish list, and this was the CeCile top. And it knitted up very, very quickly. I did this on board in the evenings. I had a big scare because I had 3mm wooden needles and cubic ones that I bought somewhere, I can't even remember. And I was knitting, watching podcasts, and all of a sudden my needle snapped. And as you can imagine, being trapped on a Navy ship in the middle of the ocean for a 6 weeks trip without a knitting needle in size 3 was kind of stressful. And I must say, usually I have the interchangeables, Chargus, with me. And this time I forgot to bring the needle case. So I had to MacGyver the tip back onto the broken off part with some tape, and I don't know what I used. And I had to make do like that until we went to the next harbor and I could find a place where they sold knitting needles. So quite adventurous, but also very lovely, and I've been wearing this quite a lot during summer. Then, an oldie but goldie, my very first summer knit. And I can see it has been worn quite a lot. This is my, of course, who doesn't have one, my Cumulus Tee by Petiteknit, and I made it in the Knitting for Olive in the color Raspberry. And I bought it at a lovely web shop called Rebel with a Twist, which is in Dordrecht in the south of the Netherlands. If you ever come to the Netherlands and you want to visit some lovely yarn shops, Dordrecht is the place to go. There's numerous of them. Well, so I made this one. And I finished this last year summer. We went to Lisbon with the ship again. And we went there 2 times with a section of 2 weeks at sea in between. And I really wanted to have this ready when we went to Lisbon. And for the first time, the first harbor visit, I couldn't finish it. And it was still kind of like a really too crop top. And yeah, so every evening and every spare minute I knitted. It's all in the round, and it went quite fast, but I think it's 2 and 3 mil needles, so it took quite some time. And my colleagues were always making fun of me how my crop top would be, and that they would absolutely not be going to Lisbon with me wearing a crop top. Well, thanks colleagues. But in the end I managed to finish it, and I will put in some photos of me wearing this in Lisbon. And then the final one, and this is maybe a transitional one for going to autumn. This is my Brest Tee by also Along Avec Anna. And I made this in Sandnes Garn, I think, Duo. And I bought these skeins also when I visited the Sandnes Garn factory. And these are almost the original colors, except I think that I changed the jeans blue. It used to be a kind of a green, which I couldn't get. But I really like the colors, and I knitted this up beginning of the year again when we went on a trip with the ship. And it's it's stained. It needs to wash. It's because I've been wearing it that much. But it's a merino yarn. It's really soft, and yeah, put in the stripes, and this flew off my needles, I must say. And it's really lovely when for this weather, like in the low 20s, when it gets a little chillier but still sunny, and it wears really nicely. One thing I think I can do better next time is learn how to knit dogless. I mean, I googled numerous YouTube videos, but still you can see the dogs in here quite well. But it's on my back, and on the other hand, who has eyes on their back, right? But I really love it. I'm linking the colors that I used below, and I must say I really like the yarn. Downside is I have a lot of yarn colors left now because you only use a little amount of it. And I must remember to upload this in Ravelry because I'm really behind on putting my projects there. And last but, well, certainly not least, but let's move into the accessories. I made a Lucca hat, also by Paula Strickt. And I have a ponytail, so I can't put it on right now. Let's see. And this is to channel my inner cowboy. And I really like it. It's the second time this year I made this. And now, of course, my ponytail goes really wonky. But, well, it's perfect, right? I'm trying to cut out as little as possible because, well, who isn't for more reality on YouTube, right? Well, this is the Lucca Hat by Paula Strickt. It's made from a raffia yarn, and it's actually a crochet project, which I should mention. And it's the second time I made it. I made one last year, and of course I made a gog swatch. So you start in the middle, then you crochet around, and at certain points you measure if you have the right measurements. And last year I found out that I had to decrease the needle size because it was getting too big, and I was afraid that it would be floppy on my head. So instead of pulling it all out and starting over again, because I was quite frustrated after a few attempts, I just took the smaller needle and went on crocheting all around. But then the top part was really wonky. So I ended up finishing it, and I wore it 2 times, and every time I walked past a reflective surface, like a mirror or something, it would really bug me. So this year was the big year of unraveling this summer, so I unraveled the whole thing and started all over again. Of course, I didn't write down which needle I used last time, so I had to re-find out. And I finished this in the car when we were on summer vacation. And then you go and steam it and put in, in the steam, then you can form it. And I must say, I've worn it last weekend when it was really hot here to an event, and I really like it. So maybe I'm making a second one in a more cognac color or something, but it's constantly sold out. Then, as I said last time, I should remember putting socks on sock blockers. So here we go. I finished, as I mentioned last time, I redid my stripy socks because the cuff was way too big and it kept sliding off. So I remade the cuffs of these ones. Then, with the yarn shop I just mentioned, Rebel with a Twist, she had a cooperation with an artist called Une Touche de Mer. And since I actually studied French, which a lot of people don't even know, but I love everything French. And Une Touche de Mer, how much more can you get me? It's navy, it's sea, it's French, it's everything. And when she started the cooperation with the yarn shop, they brought out the Ocean Rebel socks. Well, I was sold immediately. And I got this lovely package with, this is sun-dyed yarn from Rebel with a Twist. I got the pattern for the socks with a little anchor on there. And there were some goodies. I got a stitch marker in shape of a sea snail house thingy, really beautiful. I got a tattoo with an Ocean Rebel and a project bag, and I've been using it a lot, but it took quite some time to finish the socks, but I did, and I have been wearing them, I think, all vacation long when we were sitting in France in the rain and it was, well, cold. And then, well, these are actually it's not really a summer knit, but something like spring knit, let's say. And I will put these on. It's again a sock project because I found out that I didn't have any socks, and this time I tried a new technique. I made cables for the first time, and actually it wasn't quite that difficult, not as much as I thought. The yarn I used is a sock set by Olivia and Oliver Fibers. She's a dyer. She, I think, lives in Amsterdam. And these colors are apple blossom. And I knitted it up just in time when our apple tree in front of our living room was in bloom. So a really nice memory about that. And they knitted up in a DK quality. Never done DK socks, but I will definitely make more as it goes really, really fast, even in size 42. So these are mine, and I really like to watch them. I really like to wear them when watching TV on the couch at night. Well, let's see. I think I'm through with all my summary projects. No, I have one more, but tragic story again. As I said, it was the summer of Unravel. I made the Iris tank top by Along Avec Anna in a beautiful hand-dyed yarn from Emma's Yarn, which I bought at Nitty City in New York City. I thought it was just enough, but I'm good at everything concerning language and creative stuff. I'm not good at math. So it was the yardage in metric. I thought the yards would be more than the actual meters, but actually it's the other way around. That's how talented I am at maths. And so I started knitting in the size I needed, and it's a different quality, so the yarn is thinner, so I thought I recalculated it the right way. But when I was, it's knitted from the top, from bottom up. So when I was about at the point where you start to separate for the different parts, the triangles, I thought, well, this is way too big. So I blocked it, put it on, and I measured it, and indeed I could fit in twice. And I was really concerned about yarn chicken, that I wouldn't have enough to make the top part. So I measured it, recalculated what size I needed to knit in order for the yarn to, well, to make sense size-wise, and so I could knit it and I would have enough yarn. And so I unraveled the whole thing, about a month of knitting, and it is in a lace motif, all over lace. So now it's sitting in a project bag with the right calculation this time, waiting for me to regain courage and start it all over again, which is probably next year, somewhere in spring. Well, and there's actually another unraveling still needing to happen. I made the novice cardigan mohair edition by Petiteknit, and I made it with a double strand of Tune Silk by Sandnes, and I found out once it was finished that it was way too boxy and way too much ease for me to like it. It's really like a big sack, like a potato sack, and I had two options: or give it away to somebody, but on the other hand, there's quite an amount of, well, yarn, and also expensive yarn, I must say, in there. So I'm going to unravel it at some moment. I'm just unraveling it and straight away balling it again. I hope it will work out, because think double strand of mohair is quite difficult to unravel. But I only want to have knits that I actually wear and who do not lie around in my closet. Does it make sense? So I'm gathering up the courage to do so. And then, to conclude this episode, I have acquisitions, which I was not planning to do, but I had to be in The Hague yesterday for work. And in The Hague, there's a lovely yarn shop, which is called Cross&Woods. And they sell, well, everything yarny. They sell fabric, and it's just a really lovely shop to go and visit. And I was looking for a yarn from the Rerum Natura because I want to make Christmas gifts. I'm already, well, it's still 25 degrees outside, but I have to plan ahead. I want to make the Friesland mittens by Salt and Stone Knits by Mika. And she has this technique of using thrums, which is unspun yarn. And so you knit in one color, and then you put little thrums of unspun yarn in there, and you weave them in a certain way, and which gives you mittens that are with a lot of fluff on the inside, let's say. I'll show you once I make them. And she used this yarn, De Rerum Natura Cirano, and I couldn't find it anywhere online. So my idea was, let's just walk to the shop and see if they actually have it, and they did. So now I have one of the original yarns to make the mittens. I will make the first pair and see how it works, and then maybe find some other colors in other yarn that I can substitute. So I bought this in the color Tempête. And as I mentioned in the first episode, what I'm planning to make is a beret for my mother-in-law in, what did I buy? In Holst Super Soft in a red, and I needed a fluff to go with it. So I bought the Filcolana Tilia in the color 218 in this really bright red. And this will be my fluff for her beret. I think one ball should be enough. I had a really hard time choosing a red mohair or something fluffy online because, yeah, well, the colors are never really true. And this one just caught my eye and said, well, let's take it. And then the last thing, it's a little treat for myself, really, to unpack it. This is a needle minder, and it's magnetic, and it is made from ceramics by Caroline Barnes. You can find her on Instagram on Caroline Barnes Ceramics. And it is, just really carefully before I drop it. So it's this ceramic little disc with a big magnet behind there. And there is another magnet to attach it to a project, what you're making. And you can just stick the needle on here without losing it. And since I do a lot of needlework on the sofa watching TV, it always kind of slips everywhere. And so at least I know where my needle is and don't sit down on it. So yeah, and what I still have on my needles, the same things I had last week. So I made some progress on the cardigan, but it's going really fast, but I just enjoy the knit. And in the train yesterday, I knitted on my half and half triangles wrap from Pearl Soho, which I make in a linen quill, the original yarn from Pearl Soho, in a gray and a neon pink, but I will remember to show it next time when I have some more progress. Well, I think that concludes the episode of today. Let's see if I can cut it and edit it a little faster than my first video. Hope to see you again soon, and I wanted to remind you, if you want to know anything about Navy or anything Navy life, which I could tell about in my next episode, please leave me a comment down below. Thank you, see you next time, bye.